Breaking news, the United States has shot down yet another object. Balloon, maybe? We don't know. That's a crazy thing. John Kirby, defense spokesman for the Department of Defense, had the following to say. He said, I can confirm that the United States Department of Defense was tracking a high altitude object over Alaska airspace in the last 24 hours. The object was flying at an altitude of 40,000 feet and pose a reasonable threat to the safety of civilian flight, because this is the altitude the aircraft fly in, and balloons should be at a higher altitude than this. So unless they're derelict and have some issue on board, I can go into that in a little bit. But anyway, he said that out of the abundance of caution and the recommendations of the Pentagon, President Biden ordered the military to down the object, and they did. And it came inside, our territorial waters. It kind of read odd, but that's what he said. Anyway, he also went further to say that the fighter aircraft assigned to U.S. Northern Command took down the object within the last hour. And he added that the object was much, much smaller than the balloon that they took down last Saturday. This could have been an actual scientific balloon, maybe. But this now shows that they are trigger happy, apparently, and also shows their detection capabilities are a little bit. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Several various members of the politics, like Senator Cynthia Loomis, Republican from Wyoming. She said that the Chinese Communist Party has not proven itself trustworthy. And now there's a second healthy object that was shot down over our country. These rogue objects in airspace clearly not a mistake. So she went further to say, the U.S. should defend our borders and airspace with whatever force necessary. I will continue to monitor this situation. Then there's a Representative Jim Banks, a Republican from Indiana. He said, we don't know the details yet. We know that Joe Biden's failed foreign policy has left America much weaker than it was before he took office. And he goes on to chide Biden. And this is why Biden's under a lot of pressure now. He's going to shoot down stuff. They're going to shoot down anything now. And, for the scientific community, this has got them scared. I've got some balloon friends who've called me recently and says, Greg, don't let them regulate, just regular balloons. So we'll go into that in a minute. But there's a real threat with these balloons. There is a real threat, and the threat is bigger than what a lot of people realize. It's not just that a balloon can carry an EMP weapon and get in our airspace and take out part of our country. Oh, it's worse. The balloon can actually take out balloons. Balloons as a platform can take out our grid. They can devastate the United States without even coming inside U.S. airspace. Now, U.S. airspace is typically 12 and a half miles offshore. And we have an air defense identification zone that runs 200 miles out, but still a balloon can get inside that. And because, this Chinese balloon had an operational ceiling of, it was told to us, 30 kilometers. From 30 kilometers, you've got a range of 400, I had it calculated somewhere. Yeah, you can reach 442.34 miles from that altitude. From the total coverage. From 20 miles up, you can actually cover 488 miles, because that's 18 miles. That's 18.64 miles. And 20 miles, you can go 488 miles in coverage. This is your RF coverage. The RF coverage is where the EMP can impinge you. And I know this works because I've launched many balloons, and we have launched balloons right here from Huntsville, Alabama, which is only half of the coverage because half of it goes the other direction, and been talking to people up in Ohio via links, RF link through that balloon. So these are things we've done that I've been in charge of right here in Hunts Patch, Alabama area. I live up in Tony, just northwest of Huntsville. Now, guys, this is a real threat, these kind of balloons, but we also need to have some kind of standard to know what we're looking at and what we're looking for. But we also need to know where to look and when to look. And I'm not sure that's been assessed yet. For these reasons, I'm actually right now working on a white paper on what's possible from these balloons and what we've got to watch out for. But also, we need to be able to accommodate the ones that aren't defense-oriented type balloons. There to be smaller balloons. So what that governs that is going to be the minimum payload you can expect a balloon that carries a threat to carry. I mean, a nuclear warhead can be miniaturized, and the support avionics for it might be miniaturized, but it's going to be on the order of at least 500 pounds. I'm really thinking more like 1,000 pounds or better. So these are all parameters we're going to have to take into account to know whether to target something. Also, you know, the balloon people are afraid we're going to overregulate them. But guys, in terms of them having to put identification equipment on board, which is very heavy for the smaller scientific balloons, the smaller ones though, but don't pose a threat. So we just need to be able to identify these thresholds. But we absolutely clearly need to be able to identify these objects and take them down as needed, because they do pose a real threat. And now they've discovered a chink in our armor, and maybe they're planning to take advantage of it, especially after they had the opportunity to fly clear across from Alaska to South Carolina, North Carolina, North America, diagonally. Holy smoke, guys, we just let them go all the way across this country with a communication sniffing platform that probably got a whole lot of intel, according to what we're finding in the avionics that were recovered from the ocean. They said there was a lot of comm equipment on board. So guys, I'm going to show you a couple things real fast. I'm going to make this a quick video. I was not planning to do a video tonight at all because I'm working on this white paper. But this is breaking news. This is very important, so I'm going to get it out. And let's have a look. See, I am going to show you guys a couple of things real fast here. I'm going to hit the share screen. And I'm going to show you just a little bit of a threat matrix here. This is a chart that I'm using, you know, going to other stuff. This is the kind of coverage a balloon might get from 30 kilometers, this circle here. And this is to show you, this is international. The center of the circles, these circles here are in international waters. Each one of these centers are in international waters. That is over Canada. So every one of these circles is outside of U.S. airspace. Now, they might be within the 200 miles. See, 200 miles is about that. Yeah, close. But if you got the winds blowing one way or the other, depending on which season, I'm going to this later, you can adjust and come out here and let them drift in. Or you could even have a platform underneath the balloon that could take it further inland. Like the Chinese have already tested hypersonic drop vehicles from balloons. And I myself have flown a remote piloted rocket powered vehicle from a balloon. So guys, this is real serious capabilities that they have at their disposal. I've launched rockets and balloons, and I'll show you what that looks like too, guys. Oh, this isn't going to let me change screens, is it? Yeah, it is. It's just going slow. Oh, I don't want to show that. Oh yeah, you could, if you can get a couple of other objects in a little further, you could hit almost everything of interest in the United States. Now, this is a threat map that's typically shown a lot, showing EMP coverage per altitude. Now, my Hart Cat's Prize rocket that I've shown you on the past, it was designed to go over 100 kilometers, well over actually, and it could have. Now, so 100 kilometers, this is your balloon circle. This is a low-powered, simple Raccoon could cover this. More powerful rockets launched from balloons could cover every one of these circles. Entirely feasible. In fact, I could probably come up with the project to build one myself if I were so inclined and had the time and money to do so. But you know, at one time I was developing a hybrid rocket system for orbital launch from a balloon. Yeah, I could have covered every one of these circles easily, and it wouldn't have cost a lot of money to have done it either. I had the design and everything, and I was working on a business plan to pursue that at one point in time. But then the satellite market crashed, and so that kind of went poof. But anyway, guys, so if you take this circle, my Hart Cat's Prize Raccoon rocket, 3 of those circles across the United States looks like this. I kid you not. These are the kind of things that might happen. I'm not going to go into everything I'm going to put in the white paper because I'm not sure all that should be released, including like things about various weapon systems, but everything I'm using, the pieces of it, are public knowledge. I'm sure China already has all that in place, but China's not the only ones we got to worry about. We got to worry about other countries, rogue countries like North Korea or terrorist organizations. Guys, my launches I did were from a group operating out of a couple of garages on a shoestring budget, and we were hitting the edge of space from garages. Actually, we were hitting space, guys. Let me do another share. I'm going to show you something else. Ding, 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 ding. I'm going to show you a scientific paper. It shows you some examples of what we're talking about. This is a paper that I co-wrote with the chief engineer of Raven Aerostar. Aerostar is a balloon manufacturer for these kind of balloons in the United States. The sole manufacturer for these kind of balloons in North America. This is this was a club project. This wasn't even a company. This was a club project. And this is a balloon being inflated in the Gulf of Mexico, and that's a rocket back there. Now, we did this project as a joint endeavor between us. Believe it or not, the Marshall Space Flight Center. We got a boat from them, actually a barge. That was the NASA Pearl River barge. And this was this rocket right here is hanging in Huntsville, Alabama, straight to El Brewery right now. So let me show you. Just kind of walk through this. You can see that this is actually on Raven's website. Mike Smith, Michael S. Smith. I think he's retired now. He was the chief engineer for Raven. This is me. I started a company called the High Altitude Research Corporation after we did the club project. And this paper does cover some of the other rockoon activity, not everything that we did under either project. We did some on the club. We did some. This is on balloon launch return vehicle platform. We actually built this guy. That it is on the deck of the C. Michael Calais. I rented that boat myself commercially off the spot market. This is a cold gas reaction control system and launch avionics. In this box, it would point this thing, and whatever azimuth you would want to fire it. And there it is going up in a balloon. There it is. This is a directable object with a rocket motor that you could send wherever you wanted. And I got more stuff. This is some balloon performance curves. Yeah, we'd always get that for various balloons. Let's see. There is an organization called the ICAO. This is the organization that governs international flights and equipment like that. You know, it could be to shoot down some of these objects might be in violation of ICAO regs. So we got to probably look at that later. We got to defend our country first and foremost, though. So we need to figure out what's the appropriate parameters on some of these things. So I am going to show you a video real fast. If I find the right one, right here we go. This video here is a video of my Hark Catch Prize rockoon launcher. Rockoon is a balloon launched rocket. This rocket is 17.5 foot tall. This is the solid rocket motor right here. It don't have oxidizers combined in it, so it's not an explosive fuel grain. It's hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene. And this pink right here, that is insulation in a greenhouse with a launch gondola built around the rocket to keep the nitrous oxide oxidizer warm as it ascends in the cold up into the colder stratosphere, because we want to maintain it at 750 psi. The boat in question here, this is a different boat, different mission. This is the Mr. Offshore. We're 200 miles out. Yeah, we are in international waters here. We are in purely international waters outside the ADIZ. And I think that is Mike Smith right there, the chief engineer for Raven Aerostar. And I think that is the late, great Glenn May, who died in the co-flow test of Spaceship Two engine development, which is the commercial spacecraft that Virgin Galactic is trying to commercialize. But I've got some strong reservations about that. So I rented this boat too. And I rented this boat commercially, although it was a boat that works in weekdays for the Navy Intercoastal Systems Division out of Pensacola, Florida, the same area for the Navy team that probably planted the bombs in Nord Stream 2 is located. I'm going to cover that too. I was going to do a story on that. I may yet, but guys, I'm trying to do this white paper, so I wasn't planning to do a video for a couple more days. But with this news breaking, I just had to tell you this is what's capable. This is what's possible, guys. You see this rocket? Yeah, that rocket right there could have hit 100 kilometers easily, and this is all payload from here up. Yeah, there could be a EMP device and something like that. And who's to say, you know, when the Soviet Union fell apart, some things became available. Who's to say that some country wouldn't slip a terrorist organization something if they were going to do something that fit within their own agenda, especially like taking down the Great Satan, as we're called, by Iran. And you know, we know that North Korea considers us the thorn in their side that keeps them from taking South Korea. And those guys are so hungry up there, they'd love to take South Korea, no doubt about it. But they're one impoverished nation, like Spartans, you know. So anyway, here we are. I'm going to play this video. Cut. Just cut the cord, it's holding it. Off it goes. The rate of rise for one of these blades is about 700 feet a minute. So if you're on your way off the shore, something like this, oh yeah, you can get a lot of altitude in a hurry. And somebody on shore will not even see it even as yet because of the curvature of Earth flat earthers. With radar, they can't see it because Earth's got a curvature. You know, we get way up there before they could scramble to it, be out of range of aircraft. So there you go. I'll put that back to the beginning. We're not going to play it right now. I might play it in an adjacent video, the actual launch. Back that up. Open this up. This is the same rocket, same balloon at altitude, fully inflated. Now it's spherical. This is a zero pressure balloon. It's got the fill tubes or vent tubes hanging off the side, 4 vent tubes. You'll see them as a video played. We had live downlink. We had an uplink. We had an uplink commands that was encoded for us to initiate the launch. This is where the atmosphere is only 1/100th what it is on the surface of the Earth. And there goes the rocket right there. There you are, my friends. These are the things that are possible. Now we had electronics on here. That's a parachute canister there. There was a cut down mechanism to bring the balloon down and several things like that. So there you are. And yeah, once you fire the rocket off, the weight drops and the whole platform shoots up in altitude. And it could launch a rocket and have an EMP device on it. So you can get a twofer. You can get a rocket launch to do a wider, bigger EMP blast and then have a more localized EMP blast. Both have different distinct advantages. So I'm going to stop this. And we're going to stop that share. And let's go back to that PowerPoint because I want to show you a little bit about that. Do another share up on it and close it down. I can say, yeah. Now, we all know that from space, and you can see that what the raccoons could do. Let's look at this picture. This is what a balloon could cover. And I'm showing you how you could take out just about the entire eastern, all our naval systems, our command and control with just circles this size, guys. So, but the closer you are, the more intense the field is going to be. This field here, from this altitude, 400 kilometers, the EMP super weapon is capable of putting out 200,000 volts per meter on our lines, 200,000 volts per meter. The old hardening spec was to harden to 50,000 volts per meter. The new hardening spec is only 85,000 volts per meter. When you're down here, you can absolutely fry communications, command, and control systems. And you're going to fry a lot of stuff when you're down at this altitude, including the comm systems that we would use to initiate our EAMs, which are required to launch nukes, including from submarines at sea. The submarines at sea have to have a EAM with instructions to launch, and they got to have a validation. Now, go back to this chart here, guys. You see here, these coastal areas? Yeah, if you had a boat like that, you just, balloon goes up, boom, you set the balloon off, and then you got that coverage. I don't think they could scramble to it, but while it's still in range of the aircraft, whatever was taken down over Alaska, maybe it's a UFO. They don't know. But whatever they took down over Alaska was at just 40,000 feet. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute. 40,000 feet. That is below the typical flight range of a balloon. It may have had issues or been a derelict, or that might have been a scientific balloon. It was said to be smaller, but you could, look, if you can lift, now that balloon that came over was capable of lifting 1.2 tons. A nuke could be miniaturized to 200 pounds. The avionics to initiate it could be miniaturized another 50 pounds. A 250-pound package might be capable of doing the job. I think it'd be more than that, especially if they want to shield it where you can't see it with mass like sand. You can shield it one of these things where if you want to fly it over here, you wouldn't know it had a nuke under it. So there you are, my friends. This is the kind of things that are possible, but just look here. You get all our important naval centers like in San Diego, all the stuff in LA. We got a lot of defense stuff out here. We got sub bases around, Georgia and down here. And we got, our Air Force and our missile fields up here. If you could get with another rocket, like the balloon rocket I showed you, it was an airplane type style, you could get that in somewhere like this possibly. These are real intense possible fields. If you overlaid them together and had that on top of that, then the possibilities, this is kind of an overlay of raccoons, orbital, and other balloons. Yeah, you see, that's pretty massive. That's pretty nasty. That's a whole lot of EMP. Bear in mind, my friends, bear in mind, just one circle right here, one EMP circle right here. So much power is actually generated in this part of the country. It would cause cascading failures in the power grid and likely take out the entire Northeast United States for months on end, possibly. Because this isn't going to just be things tripping. You're going to be really frying some major transformers with a system like this. And so a lot of damage can be done from a simple system. So if there were a couple of ships off each shore here, we'd be in trouble. We could be in trouble. So there we go, my friends. I just wanted you to see that and stop the share. Bada bing, bada bang. So got another. Kind of makes me think. We need a song. Another balloon takes the bus. Another balloon takes the bus. Another one's down. Another one's down. Another one takes the bus. Hey, we'll get you too. We'll pop you too. Another one gets the bus. Anyway, that's the dust. Well, the problem is that there could be legitimate scientific balloons. Now, these balloons, typically, especially zero pressure balloons, they the first day they fly maybe up to 120,000 feet, but they get the vent tubes. They will vent gas and they'll drop down. The next day they'll come up a little higher, but the next time they come down overnight when it's cooler, they'll vent more gas, and eventually they just come on down. And this could have been one of those that most of your balloons do have ordnance on. They do have explosives. Our balloons that we flew two types. We flew latex. They would ascend until they bust. So you didn't have to worry about them. You had a parachute on them so you could recover everything. That balloon flew over from China that taken down over to South Carolina did not have a parachute on it. Highly interesting, highly strange. Which tells you they did not have any plans to recover that. That was not intended for recovery. Also, a meteorological balloon typically has a payload package hanging way below it, so if the static electricity and the environment up above where the balloon's at does not interfere where the sensors sit. Yeah, that was definitely intel gather. They didn't care about that stuff as much, but it's a different objective. So I don't buy and they had such huge communications arrays on it. The communications for your meteorological balloons don't require all of that. Those huge arrays, that was really strange. In terms of being picked up by radar, the situation is that that balloon had a huge truss structure on it, and that truss structure is radar reflective. That's easy to pick up. The solar arrays were probably radar reflective. The envelope would be hard to see. In fact, we used to have to fly corner reflectors at one time on balloons to enable radar to see them. But things have gotten better with reporting and things like that, so that's not being required. Typically, when you fly a balloon like that, you're supposed to file a notice to airmen. If it's got a chance of flying over the ocean, you file a notice to seamen. For our Raccoon launches, we had to file notice to airmen and notice to seamen. I used Eglin Air Force Base for range scheduling, and they actually shut down Gulf Route, I think 26. It was a Gulf Air Route. Guys, it's been over 20 years ago. It was 25 years ago I was doing this stuff, okay? Up to 23 years ago. So maybe my memory is a little foggy. It's which number the route was, but that's what rings a bell for me. I think it's Gulf Route 26. We actually shut down for several hours while we did our operation. It's harder to fly off the East Coast because the air traffic is heavy. We get real short lunch windows coming off the East Coast, but which we did with a balloon rocket that got me this, Topsail Beach, North Carolina, the Space Pioneer Award for entrepreneurship. So guys, I know what it's like to fly balloons. I know, and I'm working up a paper on this topic, but this is breaking news. The interesting thing is they don't know what to shut down. That's the interesting thing. But they were in rights to do so because it was in the aviation lanes. It was a hazard to aircraft. And furthermore, at that point, they could get it. When you're up at 60,000 feet and higher, my lowest balloon, except for one, I'll tell you a little story real quick. Except for one, my lowest flying balloon flew to 75,000 feet. That was the launch altitude. And actually, that was the Hart Catch Prize rocket. Most of them were 80,000 and above. I've flown, up to almost 120,000. We've had 115,000 feet and so forth from a lot of our balloons. So that's what to bear in mind. The balloons the purpose of the vent tubes on some of them is so they won't fly up and burst like the latex. The latex are meant to do that. If you want a long duration flight, you want something that will vent. That's when you want the big plastic balloons. They're the ones you want to use for heavier payloads. The latex balloons are not suitable for that. But you can you might put up to 100 pounds on a latex balloon. The ones we flew were good. You know, you got limits as what FAA allow you to fly, also in pounds per package and inclusions and things like that. But we did file notice to airmen before we launch it. We notified the towers, and you know, there's things you got to do like that. So, you know, as long as the system knows, you should be good. And when somebody's flying a balloon in, you don't know what it is, which could be coming in from another country because it was a derelict balloon. I don't know. So there's these things to take into account. So we need to be able to identify these things quickly. You need to be able to identify them offshore as fast as you can and be able to deal with them so that you don't get an EMP attack from over the horizon off the shore. This is something we have to pay a lot of attention to, like I just showed you. Now, what I showed you, they already know these kind of things. Now, anything I showed you today, they already know. In fact, I don't think I'm going to be doing anything in this paper. It's not already known in some fashion. But the scary thing is amateur groups can build a rocket. Amateur groups can launch a large balloon. Amateur groups can do it from sea and do it for not a whole lot of money. So that's what you need to know. This is a risk that we've got to be aware of. We need to wake up to it and deal with it. So because that one balloon was in aviation space, it was a hazard. It's just free floating. It's derelict probably. Now I did fly a balloon that became derelict on one case. Now we still had control over it. We could have brought it down earlier, but we did a tank test for our oxidizer tank. Remember that thing I showed you that was a big, long, insulated thing? We want to know that we can maintain our oxidizer tanks at altitude. So prior to our Space Launch 1 Raccoon, this one, we flew a polyethylene balloon from the old International Airport of Huntsville, which is Airport Road now. There used to be an airport downtown, but it still has runways there. So we actually flew a balloon from there. And when we were inflating it, we had a high wind kick up. And we had some people that was trying, you know, you're supposed to have like gloves on and things like that to keep the balloon from hitting the ground or something like that. And somebody poked a hole in the darn thing. We got real windy. We had some issues getting it launched. We had to hold it longer than we meant to. We had to go get a couple of items to make a repair. And in the course of that time, we had a wind kick up and this balloon tried to hit the ground. And so doing, our attempt to hold it caused a hole to form in the side of it. We just can't really fix that hole. But the balloon was still launchable, but it was going to leak air or leak helium in this case. And so it was not going to reach the full altitude. That balloon got up to about 40,000 feet too. And that balloon, we had a microphone. The funny thing is, we had a camera aimed straight down on it, and we had the cords going down to the tank that was hanging right down in the center. So looking from the camera, it looked like it was looking through a bomb site. And we had a microphone. So as it went up, we could hear the traffic in Huntsville. We could hear the guys running around little motocross plays, you know, dirt bikes and things like that. And when it got at altitude, it only made about 40,000 feet. We heard it getting buzzed by a jet fighter. So this balloon, because it was derelict, it wasn't going to go as far or get as high. We didn't have to activate our cutter system with it to bring it down. That's the ordnance you use. Yeah, the ordnance you'd use is like you would have, there's a tear out panel at the top of these balloons. And you have a line to it, and you got a weight. And that weight is being held by another line attached to the structure. That line that's attached to the structure has got an ordnance device, a cutter, a guillotine cutter device that you fire. This ordnance, this explosive. You fire that, and then it turns that weight loose, and that weight could be a sandbag, but usually it's something like a gallon jug of water or a gallon jug of sand, which is going to bust and just scatter out and be harmless. But in any event, what happens is you fire that, the jug drops, it tears that line at the top, and the whole thing tears open, and the whole balloon just comes down immediately. So yeah, you typically have ordnance devices on these balloons. There's a lot of talk about, well, they might have ordnance explosives on board. Yeah, they do. I was concerned that thing might have ordnance to get those solar panels on it, so it would shoot up higher than what was flying for recon, and then could initiate an EMP, because the balloons were tested. The ones from Air out of China were tested at 60,000. They claimed it would hit 130 kilometers with 1.2 tons payload. 30 kilometers. That's what it was designed. They've actually flown them to that altitude with 1.2 tons of payload. So that's, yeah, you can put a lot of stuff on there. Yeah, and I'm showing you on the video. Go back and look where I did a video. I think it was a live session. I believe it was on my Galactic Greg's channel. I went live on Galactic Greg's and showed y'all this package where the Chinese had flown and had 3 hypersonic type style. They were going to be flying subsonic, not hyper or supersonic. They did break the sound barrier. Glide vehicles. those things, even without rocket power like the ones we do, could make a lot of cross range. They could cover a lot of distance. They've already tested this. They tested that kind of capability. So it is totally within the capability of a nation like China to go offshore outside of ADIZ and fire something, launch something that would glide right into the United States and do severe damage. So in terms of EMP or otherwise, or they could be like rods from God, you know, they could do kinetic right into something. So this is things that we've got to be aware of. It's things we got to wake up to. This is a new parameter for us to consider today in modern warfare, especially when, hey, how would a nation like North Korea, how could they win against the United States in a nuclear war? Well, by making us think that we got attacked by China or by Russia, and so we go to war with them, and they just sit back and twiddle their thumbs, and it's all over. They take South Korea. They do what they want. United States is out of our way now. Yay, the big guy's gone, or Iran, you know, the great Satan's gone, so we can do whatever we want to over here. I don't know, guys. These are just various and sundry ideas for what might happen. It sounds crazy, but we got crazy people in the world these days, and a lot of them tend to gravitate to leaderships of nations, as it seems. But anyway, including our own. So there you have it, guys. We are in a perilous time. We got to have our eyes wide open and head on a swivel, but we got to do it in terms of our own defense as a nation. But we got to be able to pick and choose and understand what criteria a balloon should meet to make it a worthy target. Being in a commercial air zone space where it's a hazard, yeah, that's to be taken down. Being something that could take us out with an EMP, we got to make sure we can actually shoot it down. Just a regular fighter jet ain't going to take it out at 100,000 feet or 30 kilometers, which is like 18.64 miles. So we've got to start planning for this. We got to make sure that we can be ready for something like this to happen and deal with it. That is my operative thing. We need to do this for our own protection. And the other side needs to know that, hey, we've woken up. We know you might throw this stuff at us. And now we're ready to take it out. So don't bother. Don't bother. That's the best defense. The best defense is a strong. The best defense is just that. It's a strong defense. So guys, that's all I got to say. Eyes wide open, head on a swivel. Things are coming at us. The world's getting a little too interesting, a little too fast with all the tension with China, tension with Russia, tension with North Korea. North Korea just had a parade. Guys, a whole nother video I can do on this. North Korea just paraded enough ICBMs. They now have enough ICBMs that they could overwhelm the missile system defense that we put out there to take their ICBMs out at Fort Greely, Alaska. The ground-based interceptions, I think there's one or two in Vandenberg. But they were put up there to be able to defend us against North Korea. Well, now North Korea numerically has enough to overwhelm that system and to be able to put nukes here onto the United States. So that's not a good thing. But maybe they wouldn't have to if they could fry all the avionics that we need to make our systems work on our side, or to give commands to submarines, which we may not be able to do, especially if we take out the comm systems. Now, and one other thing to bear in mind, China has ASAT weapons, and so does Russia, for taking out a lot of our legs of our communications. And furthermore, there's ground cells. It's come out that China had developed the Huawei company that was trying to do 5G right here in the United States that Trump blocked, had a comm system that was capable of interfering and jamming the EAM messages. Imagine that. Imagine. Yeah, they're thinking about this stuff. Why would they do that? Oh, it just happened to happen, right? Yeah, right. Guys, we're living in a perilous time. Get ready, prepare, get ready. Now, subscribe to my channel, subscribe, bang the notification bell, and click on. One other thing you better be considering is long-term food storage. Long-term food storage is something you may need. Now, I just released a video showing you wild, free stuff you can get from the wild, and you should avail yourself of that as much as possible. But you're kind of short on carbs, the wild edibles. So that's one, but buy your beans and rice, but you need something you can bug out with real fast and real easy. You can go to prepwithgreg.com right now. We got a special. We can buy 3 months of this and get a lot of other prepping supplies with it free. And this weighs very little, but this is 2 weeks worth of food, guys. And it's easy to bug out with it. Man, you can stick this on the back of a motorcycle if you had to. Put it in your boat. Put it in the back of your car, and that'll help get you over. Or go out, bury it in caches around, because that thing is very well sealed. It has pouches well sealed. The pouches are easy to carry around. You can throw them in your backpack. Yeah, 5-gallon bucket of rice would be kind of hard to carry around your backpack. You might get, if sold properly, bury some of that in caches too. Caches are great. Go to prepwithgreg.com for that. So, and buy worms, greengregs.com. Grow yourself a garden. Anyway, links below. Thank you for watching. Everything I'm going to say, Greg out.